Government makes special case for pensioners who would not ordinarily qualify for payments. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report.
Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do thin stuff. Garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
With the details to the news for Wednesday, November 16th, I am Rikisha St. Louis.
Privilege of being one of our eldest retirees to be receiving pension benefits. I know today you will smile.
She said it.
So we want to present you with this bouquet of flowers on behalf of the Pension Secretariat, Prime Minister, and all the persons that came in to try and help you get this pension benefit. So I want to say thank you very much for your patience with us and happy retirement once again.
Welcome to the Ministry of
It is truly the end of a long wait for Ms. Bernadette Jeremiah, the oldest pensioner in Grenada, as she was escorted to the ministerial complex on Wednesday to receive her first pension check from the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Deacon Mitchell. Retired since 2004, Ms. Jeremiah was among the 300-plus pensioners to receive their first retroactive payout on November 15th. The other batch of pensioners will be paid on or before November 30th, as promised by the Deacon Mitchell-led administration mere weeks after winning the June 23rd general election. At the end of the payment process, the Ministry of Finance anticipates a payout of $75 million to 525 eligible retirees. An emotional Jeremiah says thanks to the Prime Minister and his team during a special press conference at the Ministry of Works conference room.
I am happy. Sometimes when you're happy, sometimes tears come to your eyes. Not for sorrow, but for joy. And when myself and my niece who take care of me, she brought me for it before she gone back to work. She asked for the time off. And she was more thrilled than me. She said, when I see that figure, she said, you're happy for life. And I want to thank the Prime Minister because he didn't have to do it. I work with him. But I want to thank you that today I am here and I feel happy in my spirit.
Prime Minister Mitchell says the retroactive payments was no easy feat. However, his government remains committed to working towards improving the lives of every Grenadian. He advised the pensioners to be wise with their spending.
It is not just a symbolic gesture, but we are talking here fundamentally about the well-being of our citizens. If people work for 30, 40 years to build the state of Grenada, and we let them retire into poverty, it is the state of Grenada that we are doing a service. It is the citizens of Grenada that we are doing a disservice. We cannot pretend. There are a number of difficult decisions we may have to make going forward to ensure that all of us in the wider community are able to get a pension, as little as it may be, going forward, and that we do not end up in a situation where people retire into poverty because no plans are put in place for ensuring or guaranteeing that pensions are available to them. We are happy that those who've been in the rain can finally have a raincoat or an umbrella over them. We are happy that they can now get a pension to spend. I want to encourage all of you, please use the money wisely, invest if you can, treat it as a pension, meaning monthly. Don't spend all immediately, because you have to be able to live off the pension as long as you're alive.
Retirees from the Ministry of Health accounts for the majority of payments in this tranche, with other applications coming from the Ministry of Education and the Royal Grenada Police Force.
We have a number of persons from various ministries, but particularly those in the Ministry of Health, similar to Mr. Jeremiah over here. They would be receiving quite a bit, because we had about 200 persons from just the Ministry of Health. The Royal Grenada Police Force and the Ministry of Education are also very high on that spectrum. We have the Ministry of Education with about 94 persons in this payout, and we anticipate that a few more, because we had about 150 persons from the Ministry of Education, will be paid by on or before the 30th. And of course, we had the Royal Grenada Police Force with our hardworking police officers, just about 50 persons in this payment, in this tranche of payments. So that's basically how much. We anticipate that by the end of this entire process, that we should process about 525 persons, and that should amount to about 75 million.
That was head of the Pension Secretariat, Tonya Adams. The Pension Secretariat continues to work assiduously to ensure that all eligible applicants are processed on or before November 30th, 2022. Finance Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell says Cabinet has approved the decision to merge the years of service of public officers to allow them to qualify for pension payments. He said the decision was made following the assessment of applications to the Secretariat. Honorable Mitchell explained it is customary that these individuals only qualified to lose their years of service due to insufficient amount of years required to obtain a pension. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Finance announced the payment of retroactive pension and gratuity ahead of the November 30th, 2022 deadline. The first tranche of payments was made to over 300 retirees in the amount of $44.1 million.
Cabinet took the decision to in fact allow a significant number of persons to have their years of service joined. And I'll give examples. Rural constables, for example, who subsequently became police officers. The practice has been that you lose your years of service, and therefore, even if you serve as a police officer, if you didn't have sufficient years of service, you would not qualify for pension payment. We took the decision to, in fact, join those years of service so that persons can qualify. And we didn't have to do so. No one asked us to do so, except that the Pension Secretariat team brought the data to us and asked whether we would consider doing so, and we unhesitatingly said yes. And again, that is testimony to the fact that we recognize that merely by categorizing people from rural constable to then constable would be unfair for them to lose the opportunity, again, to be paid a pension in circumstances where they've worked for the state for a long period of time. And I highlight this to say these issues are still ongoing. Obviously, for this batch of retirees, we've considered it, but these are still issues that plague the public service, so to speak. And they've been long-standing issues, and they have not been addressed or tackled in a frontal manner to bring a concluded or decided position on it. And those are some of the issues that we have to tackle going forward when we also talk about the issue of pension reform.
The COVID-19 Economic Support Secretariat says has to date paid out $2.4 million in economic grant to 172 small businesses. Program Manager Chanel Andrews told members of the media on Wednesday during a press conference that the Secretariat has received 3,696 applications for the grant component of the program, which is opened until December, and 1,000 applications for the unemployment benefit assistance. The Caribbean Development Bank supported program was established to give support to individuals and businesses affected during the COVID-19 pandemic. Andrews said the largest amount of payment was distributed in the parish of St. George.
We have paid out $2.4 million in the economic grant alone thus far, and that paid off would have started at the very last week in September. We started actually making payments into the first week in October. The first 3 weeks we spent receiving applications, processing, assessing, conducting field visits, and the actual paid off began the last week in October into the first week in November, and we're now at 2.4 million. In just the grants alone, which comprise of 126 existing businesses and 47 new businesses, new startups.
She highlighted the sectors that have benefited so far under the grant program.
Mainly, agriculture would have taken up more than 50%, and that agriculture comprised of agro-processing, fishing, farming, animal husbandry, and as well as poultry industry. And of course, we have other sectors as retail, tourism, restaurants and bars, service industry, creative industry, and ICT, which we also encourage. We would have seen applications and have approved applications in that sector thus far.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Have you noticed an increase or decrease in your electricity bill? You know that changes in the fuel and non-fuel rates affect your bill. You should also be aware that changes in household activities affect your bill. Ask yourself these questions. Have the rates changed? Have there been more people at your home? Have your children been on holiday? Have you used your fan or air conditioning unit more often to beat the heat? Are any of your electrical appliances or equipment faulty? Have you added any new appliances such as transformers, water heaters, or pumps? Make it a habit to understand any changes on your electricity bill. For more factors that affect your bill, visit www.grenlec.com. Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell says Grenada will re-examine its production sector to expand and diversify its export base. This, he believes, will boost the country's ability to regain its strength in the manufacturing industry as governments seek to increase production in agriculture, fisheries, and light manufacturing, and strengthen existing trade relations with regional and international countries. Honorable Mitchell made the announcement during his delivery of the feature address at the 2022 Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association President's Dinner and Award Ceremony. He said trade is a catalyst for social and economic development.
As we continue to build our economic resilience as island nations, trade will play a critical role in our ability to effectively support our livelihoods. To this end, the Government of Grenada intends to strengthen existing trade relationships and build new ones that provide opportunities for growth, development, and the creation of sustainable jobs. Additionally, as the global climate becomes increasingly uncertain, we will continue to advocate for strengthened regional systems of trade. The full implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy has never been more urgent and deserves our firm commitment as member states. For Grenada's part, we have identified 5 key areas that we believe will transform our approach to trade, both on a national and regional level.
The Grenadian leader called for a collaborated effort to strengthen regional systems of trade that can help reduce high food import bills within various countries. Prime Minister Mitchell said his government will play its part.
Supporting regional food security through trade in fisheries and agro-processed goods. Diversifying the production of goods and services to cater to diverse tastes and interests. Strengthening private sector engagement, embracing technological advancement towards new and safer means of production, and public sensitization and education. The regional food import bill is quickly moving towards $5 billion US. And with global food trade expected to reach a record high, it will require concerted effort from developing nations, such as our islands, to curb the damaging effects of our own food insecurity.
The Grenada market has contributed significantly to the growth of trade in Trinidad and Tobago. In 2019, Grenada exported US $5 million in goods to Trinidad and imported US $248 million in goods. President of the Manufacturers Association, Tricia Kusal, commended the government for the role Grenada has played in the development of trade in Trinidad.
We in the non-energy manufacturing sector have long recognized the importance of your markets among other CARICOM countries. Grenada has been both a sourcing destination for imports of raw material, finished products, and labor. It has also been an invaluable landing destination for goods and services emanating from TNT. I do look forward to your contribution to this eminent audience this evening. Indeed, I am certain that everyone here, gathered here, is excited to hear your views on furthering opportunities between both of our countries.
Finally in the news, Beston consultant on the Molineux land slippage project, David Blake, is once again urging the residents of the area to adhere to the signage and refrain from using the immediate construction area as an access point from one area of the community to the next. During an interview with GIS on Tuesday, Mr. Blake says although some residents have heeded the call of Infrastructure Minister Honorable Dennis Cornwall to stay away from the area, others are not. Minister Cornwall asked the residents to make the necessary adjustments as work intensifies on the project. Workers on the site have complained also of receiving threats from some residents to remove the barricade and caution tapes.
The meeting had a big effect on the volume, the numbers of people coming through, and but not all has stopped. People are still coming in much reduced numbers, and they are now aware that they have to walk very close to the embankment and not coming near the edge of the broken asphalt as they were doing before. So even on Sunday we were here, on Saturday we didn't see a lot of Sunday visitors to the site, informal visitors to the site, peering over the slope.
Significant benching of the slope is taking place, which is making the area even more unsafe for residents to traverse. Mr. Blake says while there is an understanding of the distance from one point to the other through the Mount Morris detour, safety is of paramount importance.
The strip on top where people would walk is now a lot narrower than it was before. So the danger is, the hazard, potential hazard, is facing us now. And we have been speaking to them as they come across. And by next week, we hope when we started driving the paths, we just have to close. The contractor is already prepared to close at the end of this week, maybe Saturday or Sunday. So I would say to the people, if anyone is listening to this, my description of what is happening, next week should be no traffic. Piles will be going in by next week. And we're very concerned about the safety of the villagers who are accustomed to walk there. And the alternative route is not an easy one for them, we know it, but we can't afford to take the risk of someone coming down from that height, getting buried up on the fill. We don't want to lose anybody. We don't want anybody injured. It would be very bad for everything on the project. So.
The road will be officially closed on Monday, November 21st. That story just ended the national report for Wednesday, November 16th, recapping the top story. Government makes special case for pensioners who would not ordinarily qualify for payments. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us.